Hello everybody, this is the host, and today we're going to talk about a word that has been circulating online recently. It sounds like it could be the name of a heavy metal band or the title of an exploitation flick from the 80s, but it's actually something different. So let's get right into it. The term femgore is a neologism that combines female and gore to describe any graphic horror made by women for women. The concept was first described in an article published in 2021, titled "Women Are Taking Over the Gore Game with News," which appeared on bloodydisgusting.com. In it, author Andreas explained how the works of female creators within the horror community have started to break away from the more traditional slashers and paranormal stories to show the darker side of things. Essentially a response to the very male-dominated field of extreme horror. Subaru defined the term femgore, and gave examples of its use in criticism and also in celebration. She said it can be used to describe anything from a woman who is making gory art for a male gaze to those films that were made by women who flip the switch and make men the victims instead. And she noted that these types of movies are not made to shame men or promote hatred towards them, but they may contain scenes of violence and gore against them, because that is what the creators felt they needed to put into their work. In her article, she used the example of writer Alana Joliat's story Eat, Pray, Kill, which is about a woman who uses cannibalism to take revenge on her rapist. That story was published in a horror anthology called The Best New Horror from Women, edited by Ellen Datlow and Terry Windling, and inspired by the work of H.P. Lovecraft. These anthologies were published annually between 2016 and 2019, and featured stories from authors like Cassandra Core, Gemma Files, and Kaf Koja. Their stories had little to do with men other than being set in a world where men exist. But there is another anthology series called Women of Horror, Chilling Tales by Women in Their Prime, which focuses specifically on stories of women who seek revenge on their abusers. One story in the second volume of that series is called Little Red in the Hood by Chelsea Quinyard. It is a story of a young girl who is stalked and nearly killed by a man while she is walking through the woods. But she fights him off and then later kills his friends and family members in retribution. So, although these sorts of books are written primarily for a female audience, that does not mean that males are never involved in the creation process. Editor Ellen Datlow is a male, and some of the women who wrote for these anthologies, such as Carmen Maria Mercado and Caitlin, have produced works that feature male characters and explore themes that don't necessarily revolve around gender politics. Although the term femgore sounds like it is a recent development, similar themes can be found in much older horror literature, such as the works of Mary Shelley, which often explore the dangers of unchecked ambition and the consequences of playing God. Then there is Shirley Jackson's famous novel, The Haunting of Hill House, in which a male character is stalked and tormented by the ghost of a murdered woman until he is driven to insanity and accidentally kills himself. It was probably inevitable that sooner or later someone would start calling this sort of thing, especially considering the popularity of terms like slashers and galore to describe subgenres of horror. Plus, even though there have always been female creators working within the horror industry, only relatively recently have they started to be recognized as a distinct group whose work explores unique perspectives on the genre. As author Paul Tremblay put it, I think what's happening is simply that we are paying attention now, both men and women. We have been paying more attention to women's voices in horror over the past decade or so, which has been a good thing. Some might argue that categorizing horror made by women as femgore reinforces a gender binary and essentializes women's writing by reducing it to the idea that all women write about other women and their problems. There is also the risk of diminishing the term gore by turning it into an adjective that describes anything scary. After all, if everything is femgore, then nothing is. Despite these criticisms, it is undeniable that femgore has become a popular term among some segments of the online horror community, and is likely to continue being used, especially since there is currently a push to get more women involved in writing and producing horror content. Even though the term itself may be considered derogatory by some, many female creators have embraced it as a badge of honor and a way of setting themselves apart from the pack. Author Chelsea Quinyabro said, "When I learned that there was a word for the kind of horror that women were writing now, I thought it was fantastic. I liked the fact that it was a word that was coined by women and for women. It's a bit like discovering your tribe, all of the women who love the same things as you do." It was validating. The entertainment industry has traditionally been dominated by men, and women have often been relegated to the sidelines, either as damsels in distress or as love interests who need to be protected by their male counterparts. However, things have begun to change in recent years, as more and more women have entered the field, bringing with them fresh perspectives and experiences that have enriched the horror genre. One example of this shift can be seen in the success of films such as Get Out, which was written and directed by a woman and grossed over $100 million worldwide. The film was praised for its originality, strong performances, and its willingness to subvert expectations, proving that audiences are hungry for new stories that challenge the status quo. Another example is the growing popularity of podcasts hosted by women that discuss topics such as true crime, the paranormal, and unexplained phenomena. These podcasts have created a sense of community among their listeners, who appreciate the opportunity to hear these stories from a female perspective. Furthermore, the rise of social media has given women a platform to share their own horror stories and connect with others who have had similar experiences. This has led to a surge in popularity for content such as the subreddit r/, where women can anonymously share creepy and disturbing stories that they have encountered in their lives. While there is still a long way to go and much progress that needs to be made, the increasing visibility of women in the horror community is a positive development that has the potential to change the face of the genre forever. The emergence of femgore as a term to describe this new wave of female-driven horror content is just one indication of this exciting event, and as more and more women continue to make their voices heard, we can expect to see even more innovative and thought-provoking stories that defy expectations and challenge the boundaries of what horror can be. So what do you think? Is femgore just a passing fad? Or do you think it represents a significant shift in the horror genre? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. I'll see you next time.